All right, I got a quick video here for you today, guys, and I want to talk about what I think is honestly probably one of the best early campaigns that you could play if you're just getting into Crusader Kings 3. I know that they throw you into Ireland, but I kind of find that Ireland is actually a lot more confusing than it should be. And it is kind of rough and tumble to get yourself to any substantial point beyond just the simple King of Ireland. So we're going to go through some fun stuff here today and talk about what I think is the best campaign in Apulia. And I've shown it off like almost all my videos. I'm Italian, so I have a hard-on for it, even though it's a Norman campaign. But we're going to go through that here today. You can jump ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most, but there's no chapter, so just bear with it, I suppose. And if you do end up liking the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. All that kind of fun action does really help out the channel. And of course, we will be covering Victoria 3 when it goes live here in October. I'll be having tons of guides and videos and Let's Plays on that, probably either doing unification of Italy first or a Empire of Prussia playthrough. And if you want to support the channel, you can pre-order that through my Nexus Store in the link in the description. Nexus gets the key directly from the developer, so it's a great way to support the channel while also just getting a key right from the developer. Let's get started here though on my favorite campaign to start out in Crusader Kings 3. So going into Apulia, we have a lot of fun stuff. If you don't know anything about medieval history, I think a lot of people kind of jump into, you know, France or England, the Holy Roman Empire, Poland, the Kievan Rus, or eventually the Golden Horde. A lot of these places are the Persian Empire, the Byzantine Empire. Those are kind of the things that I think are very foremost in people's minds when they think of really cool or big juggernauts of medieval powerhouses. But the Normans were badass. If you don't know anything about the Normans, you know nothing about the Norman people. They essentially are Vikings that were given the land of Normandy, which basically means like land of the Vikings, as a way to stop raiding France. They're like, just take this land, please leave us alone. And the Normans converted from paganism into Catholicism, but they didn't stop raiding. So they pretty much went everywhere and raided all over the place in the name of Christendom. They were actually very, very devout and extremely well-learned culture within France. And of course, you know, they went on to conquer England and replace the Anglo-Saxons with Normans, and they intermarried into it, and it kind of changed the way that England's landscape was, right? Or they went down here into Apulia, and they go on to create the kingdoms of Sicily, which kind of changes hands a bunch of times and stuff like that. They're instrumental in the Levant and the first Crusades. So the Normans have a huge place in history, and this campaign really kind of leans into that. And I did like that typical YouTuber thing where I talked about something for what, 1 minute and 43 seconds longer than the actual goddamn thing. So I apologize. But let's now talk about the actual campaign, because aside from Normans being really cool, this campaign I think is really good because it sets you up with a lot of stuff. You're right next to the papacy, so you can kind of deal with that relationship very quickly and very easily, swaying him, getting him on the good side. That's a really big, crucial thing for your first campaign, because you can ask him for gold a lot of the time. And you don't have to deal with the fact that if you're over here in Ireland, you're insular. And I'm not really a big fan of insularism. I don't know why. I don't like it as much. But being down over here, you have a lot more people to take advantage of when it comes to marriages. So marrying your 7 children off is a lot easier for you. And when it comes to expansion, you can get over to these locations very quickly. You already start with enough titles, to make the Kingdom of Sicily for yourself, which only requires 500 gold and 1 more duchy title. To put this into perspective, Salerno is the closest duchy for you to easily snatch up. Quite easily. And your character is a tank. He already gets robust. He has great prowess and amazing martial. So it kind of puts him as a shoe-in, because if I take a look at his lifestyle focus, he already usually has gallant. I think this is random. It generates one of these to be completely full, but one of the trees will be already filled up. All you need to do is go strategy focus and go into strategist if it's not done, and you'll have a force to be reckoned with. And you can very easily establish this entire foothold down here. Now, outside of that, you have Sardinia. And Sardinia has this gold mine, which is really good. So you get that gold mine, and you are going to be quite literally rolling on gold. I think another one of these has another gold mine, and I can't remember where. But getting Sardinia is, again, quite easy, because if you look at it, it's all individual counties, not held by the Holy Roman Empire. So it's easy to grab all of them. Now, all of them are Catholic, so what does make them a little bit more difficult is that you can't just simply go to war with them. You need a CB, a casus belli. So you would need to fabricate that, right? You have to fabricate that claim, or you can marry into them, stuff like that. But I find that they actually, by the time you solidify your kingship of Sicily, Sardinia should be kind of taken apart by a lot of the Islamic forces down here. So you can just simply holy war yourself into it. Basically, you kind of want, this is what you want. Once you get that, you're pretty much all good to go. So with that in mind, you also have the Byzantine Empire, which probably won't go to war with you. And they'll have a number of succession or a number of internal turmoil that will kind of break things apart around this region. The western portion of Greece, this northern portion over here that eventually becomes Bulgaria. I couldn't think of the name off the top of my head. It'll fracture apart. And when it fractures apart, it's piecemeal for you to go take portions of it. So why I think Apulia is just so fun is because you just have so many places you can expand to, and quite easily, and quite protected too. You can establish yourself a really strong alliance with your daughter by marrying into William the Red, who eventually becomes, I think this is the same William the Red that becomes the king of England. But I can marry into Normandy, and if, assuming Normandy completes its war against England, which it more often than not does, you then have the Kingdom of England as a alliance, as an ally, which is huge, which is absolutely huge to you. So you have a big amount of protection there that just kind of completely solidifies your border, or at least gives you a really strong ally. And I know that seems like a far distance, but they'll come to your aid pretty quickly if need be. And I really just like that about this campaign. Now, the biggest problem with this campaign, I would say, is going to be your succession. If you look, Roger de Hauteville, he is your primary heir, and he is hunchback, and that is just rough and tumble. Beaumont de Hauteville is a beast of a character, and he is disinherited. So you can re-inherit him, reinstate his, or restore his inheritance. So that is going to be, it's going to be difficult to then deal with that, but I've gone over a number of videos on how to deal with this. You can find that all linked in the at the end of the video. But once you establish yourself as a king, dealing with this succession is not so hard, because remember, succession, the way Confederate partition works, is that the primary title and all titles that attach to that primary title will come with you. And what that means is, the best way to deal with this is, you go and create the Kingdom of Sicily, and then you give the Duchy of Sicily as your capital, with Palermo as your capital. And that will make it so that this whole location is yours, no matter what heir character takes over. And then the rest of it would go towards your sons, assuming you don't just simply disinherit them or kill them. And if I'm being honest, it's probably the best way to go about it is disinheriting. And I would probably disinherit Roger, because who wants hunchback in the line? In my very first playthrough of this game, I reinstated Beaumont, and then Beaumont died, and I had a hunchback king who ended up being a badass king, and eventually having another badass son who was hunchback but took over and became the king of Jerusalem. It was a really cool playthrough. So don't rule out Roger. But still, that is probably the biggest hurdle you're going to initially deal with, and really all it comes down to is ensuring that you become king, so that these guys become dukes under you. Right now, if I were to die, Roger and Guy would both become independent. Well, Roger would maintain this, and Guy would maintain that. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind. You just want to jump to getting the kingship as fast as possible. And your culture being Norman is actually pretty good. The thing that kind of sucks about it is that you are not the head of the culture, which kind of makes things rough and tumble. You have some pretty solid innovations across mangonels and whatnot. And Chancegesse is a very good cultural tradition. I really like it to make really strong warrior characters. But you have a really cool way to basically become Sicilian, form a hybrid culture of Sicilian, if you so wish, where you're pulling in both the aspects of Norman and Sicilian, which I'd probably recommend. So you have a lot of really cool ways to make this campaign work for you, right? Do you want to become Sicilian? Do you want to become where's the cultures? You can go into becoming Italian. You have a lot of really cool ways to approach this campaign in ways that I think that this just doesn't compare. It's all one culture. It's all one religion. It's all pretty stagnant because you have to just fabricate claims all the way across all this to eventually get this kingdom title, and it just takes forever. I really find that this is a really boring, too slow entry into the game that I think becomes confusing. If someone showed me the game and said, yeah, you just got to fabricate claims, I just fucking shoot myself. It's so boring to fabricate claims through all these little counties while you yourself are this kind of inconsequential duke. This way, I'm a pretty good badass duke who, if you know the history of Apulia and Outfield and how they actually go and fight the Byzantine Empire and just take them on fisticuffs, is really sick. It's a really cool character from history. And I can get into 3 wars. Before I unpause this game, I could do this. And I'd have probably enough soldiers to win all 3 of these wars right out the gate and solidify all of Sicily. So I didn't have to make a single claim. I just went ahead and did it, and I'm going to expand my border within the first kind of like 30-40 minutes of my playthrough. And then I can work on a claim on Salerno or try and marry him back into the line of succession, whatever it is. There's just a lot of really fun ways that you can approach this campaign, and I think it's one that is slept on because it's the Normans. People don't typically think about it, even though it's in one of the starting campaigns at the beginning of the game. And I think that it can lead to so much fun. You know, you can have this really cool kind of unification or creation of old Rome as you take apart Carthage over here, or you could even really kind of throw fisticuffs into the Byzantine Empire if you kind of want. You just have a lot of really cool, fun expansion options at your disposal. And the fact that you come from a pretty cool household and you already have a renown point that you can put into blood is really nice. Get those good congenital traits. You can divorce your wife to try and get a different heir if you want. Just a lot of really fun ways to approach this campaign. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section below if there's any campaigns you think are honestly way better than the suggested tutorial starting campaign. Like I've said before, I think Ireland is just too slow, and I think it mires the person playing the game for the first time in too many mechanics, and they never see them come to fruition by the time they get frustrated. So let it be known. Share it with me. Do you think Poland's probably the best way to start? This is actually a really good start, by the way. Do you think Ruthenia is? Hungary? Do you think that any one of the 3 crowns of Jimena are the way to start? Brittany, France, whatever it is, let it be known in the comment section below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of what campaign you want to start when you jump into Crusader Kings 3.